And we are here with the former Bachelorette, now Dancing with the... Yeah, unfortunately, your former Bachelorette, Dancing with the Stars contestant. Jen, welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour.
Hi, thanks for having me. I can't believe it. It's crazy.
Is that the first time someone's called you the former Bachelorette?
It's not you anymore.
I'm a little bit. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know if we have to call her that quite yet. I think we can give you a little more time. You got like a year until someone else is the Bachelorette.
I mean, and technically, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
right?
I think that's Bachelorette.
Yeah, you could. Back to back. Well, we've actually had a lot of people ask us why we have not put out a finale episode for this podcast yet. And it is because your schedule has been so crazy busy. We were supposed to have Jen on the day after the finale, but you were in New York. How was that for you?
So it's just been crazy. And since that day I flew to New York, that night, flew to New York for Good Morning America the next morning. Then that day flew back to LA, started rehearsals, flew to Boston. Now I'm in Miami, and now I'm going to LA in a couple hours. So I've just been everywhere, but it's been fun chaos, to say the least.
So you weren't hesitant at all when they were like, you're going on Dancing with the Stars?
God, no. I've always wanted to go on Dancing with the Stars. I'm crazy, and I would tell my friends this all the time. I'd be like, I really want to go on, and they're like, you don't even know how to dance. Are you going to be the star or the pro? Like, you're also like a nobody. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll take dance lessons and become a pro. Like, I've always wanted to learn, so it was the easiest yes of my life.
That's amazing. No, I totally relate to that. Before I was even on The Bachelor, I was like, I want to be on Dancing with the Stars. How do I get on that show? That looks so fun.
It's like such a feel-good show, you know?
When I first got casted on The Bachelor, and I was like considering if I wanted to do it, and my buddy's like, "You're crazy! You could potentially go on Dancing with the Stars." I'm like, I would never go on Dancing with the Stars.
No.
And then
you did.
And then it happens. How do you feel about Sasha?
I love him. He's the best. We met in the airport. Like, he didn't even have a flight. Like, he didn't have a ticket for the flight. He had to go to the gate and beg for a ticket. And that's how we met, under very chaotic circumstances. We both didn't know if we were going to make the flight. And it was since then fast friends. He is so easy to talk to, so comfortable. Also just such a good person. And he's just been really helpful with this chaotic time and everything. So I love him. We're going to be best friends.
Well, yeah, because he would have been thrown on last minute as well. So you guys are really in this together of your lives being flipped upside down very quickly.
Yeah, he was in his bed. He was I didn't have a shower. I packed a suit. He's running through the airport at the same time I'm running. It was very crazy. So yeah, very last minute.
I don't know too much about ballroom dancing, but I do know that technically Sasha is really, really good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Wait, who was your partner?
Jenna.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is who Joey's with.
Yeah.
Okay.
How's that been?
Great. Honestly, it's been really, really nice to have a friendly face there. And Good Morning America was a lot for me because I was still kind of processing the night before, and then I was meeting all these new people, thrown into a new show. I wasn't in the headspace of okay, let's make a bajillion friends right now. I just needed a little bit of I don't know, a push. And Joey immediately was oh, let me introduce you to everybody. How are you doing? So it's been really, really good to have somebody there that I know Kelsey and I and Joey went to dinner last week, and we're all such good friends. So it's been really great, honestly.
Yeah, that is really nice. Because I could imagine you're I was just in, you said, the lowest of lows. I'm running through airports. I'm meeting all these new people. So to have him kind of be a buddy and you to be a buddy through this is probably really nice. Do you feel like you're going to have an emotional crash? Or are you I'm just on such a high now? This is amazing. It's kind of picked you back up.
An emotional crash, she said, just for our listeners, that your Canadian accent. It sounded like crush almost.
Oh, did my accent come through?
Yeah, your Canadian accent came through a little bit there.
I heard crush, but wait, now I'm hearing crush.
Yeah, you said crush too. You said crush as well.
So. Emotional crash.
Gosh.
Because you're probably like, I don't even know what time zone I'm in right now.
I probably will at some point, and like it's gonna come eventually because I think I still need. I still probably have processing to do, and I don't know. I don't know. Like, do I watch the finale episode again or do I not? Like, I don't,
probably not.
I don't think.
Maybe don't do that.
Probably not. But no, I definitely have like a lot of processing still to be done. But I'm just gonna take it one day at a time. And this has all been an amazing distraction because I can't imagine not having this and not having something to focus on and not having something to kind of like push me along in this time. So I don't know. We'll see when that crash comes. I'll let you know.
I feel like though it is both a really good distraction. I also feel like this is gonna sound cheesy, but like dance is a great way to like work through your emotions in a way, and hopefully this journey will also help you process what you just went through.
Of course, and that's what I'm most looking forward to. Is like dance is such a great way to express your emotions and to get things out there. It's like such an outlet. I feel like it's such like a creative outlet too. So I fully anticipate like bawling my eyes out on the first night of the dance because it's all. I'm also dancing to like a very meaningful song, so I know I'm going to be hysterical.
All right, so let's pivot into AFR. So your AFR was like truly one of the most talked about I've seen in quite some time. I mean, you can't go on social media and not see your face like everywhere, which is great. Love Jen's face. So happy for you. Well, no, you know, that you got Dancing with the Stars. So happy for you. Can you kind of like, before we get into all of what went down at AFR, can you talk a little bit about your breakup with Devon?
Yeah, like time.
What went down? Camera's cut. You're engaged. Can you kind of walk us through what went down in those next 2-3 months?
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, I'm still trying to understand it all. And honestly, like, I don't even know if I want to understand it all. Like, we are where we are right now. But yeah, I mean, essentially, we had gotten engaged in Hawaii and happiest day of my life. And then we had a happy couple right after that. And now when I look back on things, I'm like, there were so many little key moments that I should have just taken note of, and I didn't. Like in Hawaii, when we're having our happy couple, the day after we got engaged, the first thing he asked the producers was like, "How long do people stay together?"
Oh,
and I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "You're already anticipating that we're breaking up," but I didn't think anything of it at the time. But I flagged it as like a really weird question to kind of ask. I was like, "Why would you ask that?"
Yeah. And for those listening who maybe don't know what a happy couple is, just to clarify, it's like time with the happy couple. Like they get to go spend time in a house together and spend quality time off camera, but also in private so that the viewers don't get the season spoiled for them because you can't be out and about. But yeah, so that was kind of red flag number 1 for you.
Yes. And then that whole weekend was like, I was like, oh, you know what? Things are a little different, but it's okay. Like, we just got off a whole ass TV show. Like, we both just need time to process. But I was very happy. And he seemed very happy too. So, like, I wasn't thinking anything of it. Oh, actually, the other red flag was in our fantasy suite, we had talked about the future and like where we were going to move, what life was going to look like after this. And all this stuff. And like the biggest thing for me was where we were going to move and the fact that I have family in Boston. And so we were just like, I was like, I'm not moving to Texas. And I love Boston, but like I also love New York. We could move to New York. We had settled on like, okay, in a couple of years we'll move to like California. And then when my friend Nicole came for me family, I had told her that. I was like, some of the things I really love about Devon and I's relationship is that we know what it's like to compromise for things. Like he is willing to compromise on where we're moving, etc. And she had told him that when they had a chat. And in the happy couple with Devon, after we got engaged, he's like, oh, I didn't know you told Nicole that we would be moving to California. Like, I don't actually want to do that. And I was like, okay, red flag number whatever, because you had told me that you wanted to do this and now you don't. So it's like, are we suddenly backtracking on things? And that was something that I kept in my head. It's like, does he just say things to make me happy but not actually mean them? So that was a big one for me. But since that day, like he kept backtracking on certain things. Like he would say, he was like, oh, we'll fly and we'll see each other all the time. Like, it doesn't matter about these happy couple weekends. Like, I love you. Like, I want to see you. And then we had an instance, and after we got engaged, we couldn't see each other for a month. And I had told him, I was like, just come to Miami. Like, we'll hang out. We won't go out. Like, nobody knows us yet. The thing hasn't even premiered. And he suddenly was like, I just booked a flight to Mexico. Like, I don't really want to pay for another flight. And I was like, honey, I will pay the $200 for you to come here and hang out with me. Like, what? So it was just like weird things in terms of like effort. And then he would go like missing for like 18 hours a day sometimes. And like, I wouldn't hear from him. And I genuinely think that he like got into an accident. I'm like, are you okay? Like, just like, I'm not like crazy. Like, just like, are you okay? Kind of thing. And I let it slide in terms of like, I was like, maybe he's just like going through a tough time. And he's like, and he would tell me, he's like, I'm just like a little introverted right now. Like, I am feeling weird after the show. Like, my sleeping schedule's just like off. And I don't know, there would just be so many instances in which I wouldn't hear from him for a whole day or a whole evening. And it's like, I don't need to be talking to you all the time, but like, I don't know. It was just weird.
So would he not like respond to a text for 20 hours? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The all-electric
range, safety features that give you confident temperature.
It could be your dating life, your nutrition, and your life. For a limited, they never fall out when I run, and it just makes my workout
program, custom routines,
plan of like, how are we going to make this work after the show? A pair of headphones at touch controls, providing intuitive control.
I mean, we both were,
and then was there like an immediate plan of like, how are we going to make this work after the show airs? Like, what is the plan?
I mean, we both were, we talked about it in the fantasy suite. Like, we're going to do long distance. Oh, he had said, he's like, I work from home. Like, I'll come live with you for like 11 days out a month. Like, I can do that. Whatever. So like, I was very confident that we were going to make it because he had led me to believe that there would be no reason otherwise. Like, he was just so willing to compromise everything. So I was like, long distance will be fine. And he knew I was going to be in case for another year. So that was the plan. And we were like, I remember he was like not super happy about the engagement, but like didn't exactly like tell me why. Like I remember feeling like, oh, suddenly he's like scared to get married, which I can understand. I was like, you know what, you're right. Like, this is a lot. And we had planned, we were going to get married in like 2 years. We said a 2-year engagement was something that was like reasonable to the both of us. So like things like that, those were the plans. We were just gonna like see each other, continue to date and all this stuff, but we didn't continue to date. Like, he never once planned a date night for us, like long distance wise. Like, we barely talked on the phone. It was just weird. But I would go to these happy couples and be so happy because I got to spend that time with my person. But even in the happy couples, it was just it just felt like something was off.
Yeah.
Do you so I know you've said this, Serena, you said this before, your biggest fear is meeting somebody on the show and then getting off the show and it being a completely different person. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what it sounds like happened.
Or even like just a different dynamic than what you were set up to believe you were signing up for.
Do you think that this was all a game for him? Like, you were a prize to win, he won, and that was his goal, and that's kind of it.
I can't speak for him because I don't know. I genuinely don't know who he is as a person to this day.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is very, very crazy. The person that I knew was a person on the show, and who he is right now is a completely different guy. But obviously that was the first thing that came to my mind. And that was like my biggest fear, is like, because I think with men, it is a competitive nature. So I'm like, did he just want to win the show? And he had literally told me, he was like, I didn't want to get engaged, but I had wanted you to myself. So I was selfish and I did propose to you because I wanted you. And I was like, I don't know. It was just like,
you're probably like, you wanted me to yourself, but then like, where are you? Like, you're not talking to me. You're not seeing me. When you would call him out on his behavior or like question him about the way he was acting, it sounds like he was just really distant and detached from the relationship, what would he say?
He would just say, like, my sleeping schedule's weird. I just came off of a show. I'm like a little bit introverted right now. I'm just like feeling a lot, and I know I felt like he was like a very anxious person. So I'm like, I was giving him so much grace and just being there as best as I could and just giving him the time to process everything. And also he was getting a lot of hate by episode 2 because of the way that he was acting on the episode. So like, I was just trying to be there for him and navigate the space with him as much as possible. But I just don't think his heart was ever truly fully in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a big fear of mine, is like, was somebody here just to win the show? Yeah. And I mean, it's clear that he wasn't there to win me, because he didn't even try to date me after. Like, it just did, the effort went from 100 to like 0, sometimes 5%. Like, it was, and I remember feeling like every time he would try to do something nice, it felt forced. It didn't feel like it was coming from the heart for some reason. And it was like I had this weird gut feeling. And now, honestly, all the pieces are coming together for me in terms of like making out what his intentions were and what this meant to him, because of all the things that are circulating on the internet now. So I'm just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know?
At what point were you like, okay, like I've called him out. He's not really validating my feelings. I'm getting a lot of excuses. The effort's not there. Like, what part were you like, okay, I'm starting to see this might not work out? Or when it ended, were you still hopeful?
Yeah, I was still hopeful. Like, for me, I take an engagement very seriously. Him and I had talked about it multiple times on the show. Like, we're only getting engaged once. And him coming from a family in which relationships don't work out, and he told me that and expressed his fears around that, I thought that we were on the same page with that. Like, we're not taking this lightly. This is a real engagement, and like, we're going to do whatever we can to make this work. So even while I wasn't getting the treatment that I knew I deserved in a very healthy relationship, which is what I thought I was signing up for, I still was trying to make grace. I was like, we're going through a difficult time. Like, it's going to be fine. If we get through this, we'll get through anything. And like, obviously I had just heard like a lot of couples go through hard times after the show. It's hard watching things back. It's
normal to go through that.
Speed bumps. Yeah.
So I thought that it was going to be just these normal speed bumps, and if we were able to work through it, it'd be fine. Even after he had broken up with me, I was fighting for the relationship for a month. Like, it was a push and pull every day, trying to just get out of him like something and be like, and just like work through this, because we hadn't even dated in the real life. I'm like, you told me you loved me, you wanted to marry and all this stuff. You don't actually really want to try. Like, we haven't really even been able to see each other. Like, that love was real, then you would fight for that, and you would wait until we could actually date in the real world, see what it was like, get back to that same feeling. If that's the thing that you're saying is like you don't feel the same way anymore, then like, let's try. Like, what?
Let's at least have a dinner. You would think like you could give it a dinner.
He didn't even buy me dinner. I haven't even bought dinner by him. Like, what?
Wow.
No.
Do you did he ever use watching you with other men and like seeing that you fell for Marcus as well? Is that an excuse? No.
Not once did he use that excuse. So no. And he had broken up with me before fantasy suites, before hometowns, before things like got serious in the show.
Yeah.
We were already by midway through the show. So he had never once said anything about the other guys or anything. Like, I would always try and check up on him, and he'd always seem fine, like almost too fine. Like, oh
yeah, too fine. When he called you to end the relationship, walk us through that phone call.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this was a messy time in the relationship in terms of where my headspace is at and where his headspace is at. Like, so we had just had a happy couple the weekend before. And things were just not good. We were fighting, not making any compromises. It was just bad. And he eventually, I like sat him down and was like, let's like talk about this, like what's going on here. And he basically said like, I'm just not happy anymore. He was like, some days like I wake up and I just don't feel it. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, I was like, he was like, some days I wake up and I just like, I don't love you. And I was like, oh.
But some days you wake up and you do?
Oh, how do I navigate that? Like,
that's rough. That's rough to hear.
That's rough to hear.
Well, it's just like, it's just, that's not normal. I don't know.
You're probably just like, I don't know what to say to that.
I did it. I was like mute for like 2 hours. I was like, okay, we can get through this. We can get through. Oh my gosh. And it was just a mess, but we had basically left on like, I remember I was like sobbing because I was like, I don't know how to process this. And he was holding me and he was like, it's fine. Like, I don't want anything to change. Like, I love you. We'll work on this. We'll go to couples counseling. We'll work on this. Right. So I left that weekend feeling pretty hopeful. Even though, but also like defeated and just like weird.
The all-electric Chevy Equinox.
Safety features that give you comfort, terrain,
fun because I can listen to get your music effortlessly.
All along. This Halloween season, Sashir Zamata, Ali An.
Doesn't want anything changed. He loves me. Okay, great.
He's also saying like, look, I'm committed to the relationship and I want to work on
All Along, 2-episode premiere, streaming September 18th, only on Disney+.
Like, he's feeding you some hard truths about his feelings, but he's also saying like, look, I'm committed to the relationship and I want to work on it. And, you know, I want to get to a good place together.
Yes. And so that's why I was like, okay, there's hope, I think. He wants to go to couples counseling. He doesn't want anything changed. He loves me. Okay, great. We'll work on his feelings. And then what happened? We got into a fight like a couple days after that when we had left and we were booking the next happy couple. And what made me upset about these happy couples is he would take the latest flight out and take the like into the happy couple and then take the earliest flight out at like 4 a.m. the next day kind of thing. And that made me upset. So like I expressed that to him and we were talking about the next happy couple and he's like, I'm going to take the same 4 a.m. flight. I'm like, okay, like, do you hate me? Like, what's going on? And then we got into a big fight about that. And I was just like, okay, like, let's just take some space for the weekend because I just feel like you just told me you don't love me on some days. And I just don't know if this is like a feeling that I want to be feeling right now in conjunction with all of everything that we've been fighting about. So I was like, let's take space for the weekend. We didn't take the space seriously. He was like still texting me, still calling me. So I had assumed everything was fine. And he had texted me, he's like, let's book that couples counseling. So I booked the couples counseling for us. And then it's Sunday. I didn't hear from him at all, which I thought was weird. And I just sent him a couple of texts. He didn't reply. And then I sent him another text and I was like, listen, like, I'm sorry that we fought. Like, I really want to make this work. And I really do want to go to this happy couples counseling. And like, just wanted to like, let you know that. And like, hopefully things are fine. He's like, everything's fine. Like, I'll see you at couples counseling. Sorry, just had a rough day. Monday comes around. We FaceTime during the day. Things seemed normal. And then he had went to watch the show, I think, at his mom's house. And after that night, he sent me a very cryptic text being like, because I had said, oh, do you want to like talk on the phone? And he's like, let's like talk tomorrow. Like, this is a conversation we'll have tomorrow at the happy couple. And I was like, I don't know. I don't like what that means. Like, just like call me now. Like, let's just talk about it. And he basically on the phone and like, a 2-minute phone call this was that night. He was like, I don't feel this anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. It's not working. And I'm just like done. And I was like, okay. Hung up the phone. The next day we talked for like a 15-minute phone call. That was a 15-minute phone. And he was just like, I can't say sorry anymore. Like, I'm done. Da, 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 whatever. And then
were you like, what was your reaction? Like, were you asking questions? Were you fighting it? Were you in agreement? Like, he's coming at you with like, you're probably a little bit in shock. Like, hey, the relationship's over. You're like, I just booked us couples counseling. Where is this coming from?
I felt very blindsided. Yeah. I mean, it was bad. I was in Boston. I was at my friend's apartment. And I was sobbing, like hysterically like I didn't have answers and I didn't know what to do. Like in that moment, that night when you called, I was just like, do I beg? Do I not? Like, I don't even know how I feel about this. Like, I was just sobbing the whole night. And the next day was sobbing too. And like, called him and we talked. And I was like, listen, what's going on? Like, is there something? What is the reason? Like, is there a reason? Like, can we work through this? You had just said we wanted to go to couples counseling. He's like, you're right. I lied. I shouldn't have said I wanted to go to couples counseling. Like, I don't. Like, I don't want to work on this. Like, I'm just not happy. And like those were the answers that I was getting. I tried so many times to like, I don't know, like to be like, let's just like figure this out. I don't know. Like I'm confused.
Was he ever able to give you some sort of answer as to what changed his feelings from these like really, really strong feelings of love on the show to, because it sounds like it was very instant. It wasn't like you spent so much time together for like a month and then it was like a shift. It sounds like the shift was right away. So did you ever get an answer from him of like what initiated that shift?
What he had told me was that he was having doubts the whole time and he just like wasn't expressing them. And at this point the show hadn't aired yet. So when he had told me, like, I felt pressure to get engaged. I didn't want to get engaged. I had so many doubts. I was like, oh, okay. And then I watched the show back and I was like, wait a second, you were saying crazy stuff to me that made me believe that you wanted to get engaged. Like, I'm not crazy for thinking that you wanted to get engaged. You wanted to get engaged on the show. So I don't know if you forgot the things that you were saying to me, but he was telling me he wants a family with me. He wanted to marry me. Like, so I don't know. And he had said, like, I wonder what would have happened if I had just left that day that I came into your room and like was asking for reassurance. He was like, I probably should have just left that day.
Jeez.
I was like,
whoa.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Listen, I don't know what his motive was, but yeah, he had said he basically didn't feel the same way. He had doubts. I don't know.
Was it helpful for you to watch the show back to be like, no, I'm not crazy, like he did act this way? Or was it also like hurtful to be like, you're now telling me you didn't mean any of these things?
Both. Like, it was validating in a sense of like, because for me, like, I don't know, like I felt like he was saying things and I was trying to believe them, like, oh, I never wanted to get engaged and all this stuff. And I was like trying to believe it. But then I'm like, why are you saying the things that you're saying in the show? There are plenty of guys that have expressed their
like reservations or doubts.
Yes, doubts about me, about the show, about the engagement, but you never once did that on the show. So I'm really confused. So it was validating to watch it, but then it was also hard. I was watching my heart being broken every Monday. Like, every Monday night was the worst day of my life. And while I was crying and just like confused and upset, he's out here posting memes about the show. And I'm like, did this mean nothing to you? Because if you truly feel hurt about this, if you truly feel like you tried everything and it just didn't work, you would not be out here posting memes about the show.
Yeah.
And promoting the show. Like, because the way the show ended, you just broke my heart. Like, what do you mean? It didn't make sense. The way he was moving about it made no sense, especially after the breakup. I think I got more clarity on the fact that he's just not who he painted himself out to be.
Yeah. Okay. We'll I want to get into AFR. We'll do that part 2 before we end this episode. You mentioned you've seen a lot of stuff with Devon online with like other women or whatnot. Can you describe for our listeners what you've been seeing?
Yeah, so obviously there's a video circulating around of him in New York with this girl, and that was like, I think 2 weeks before AFR, and we were broken up at that point. However, we had been talking, and we had been talking about meeting up and seeing where things go, seeing if we could work on this, seeing if we can end things on good terms or whatever it was. And also just like, I deserved a conversation in person. Like, I wanted that conversation in person and not to have to do that on live TV. He was leading me on to believe that there was hope and there was something there the whole month. And then he's out in New York with this girl. And to my knowledge, it's one of his ex-girlfriends. And I've been getting a lot of DMs and texts about what he had been doing in the past month. Like, there are rumors he was at a bar with this girl, making out with her 3 weeks before AFR. Then somebody sent me a photo of him and her at the airport together, flying to New York. So listen, this isn't just some girl that you met at a bar and you wanted to hook up with. Well, this is an ex-girlfriend that you're now traveling together with.
Super different.
Which is funny because he is the one that said he doesn't deal with exes, because he was the one that was so strong about when your ex came back that he was going to leave the show if you kept him. So the fact that he has an ex around, I mean, do you think she's been around this whole time?
Well, I don't know. I think these are the facts. He goes missing for some days at a time. He immediately after the show is like detached, not giving an effort. He doesn't want to see me. And then now there's this girl coming out and they're flying together to New York, and she's an ex-girlfriend, and it just those are the facts, and that's what I'm seeing, and what can I do with that? Like, I don't know. And the thing is, I did get a DM when I came back from the show, and somebody had warned me about this girl, and I didn't believe it. I was like, I love Devon. He would never do that to me.
Yeah.
Now I'm kicking myself for not looking into that DM.
I mean, in your shoes, it would be very, very hard not to speculate on.
Yeah, I mean, I would be out here like, fuck him. Okay, let's wrap this here because I want to get into AFR in part 2. So to all our listeners, thank you so much. That was part 1 with Jen. We are going to get into everything AFR in part 2. We will be dropping that tomorrow, so make sure you stay tuned.
And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening. Bye.
The all